Aloha and welcome back. Thanks. We had a very big weekend this weekend, at least for me. We got 40 new, around 40 new subscribers. We had a couple videos that got over, one had over 1,000 views, one had over 2,000 views. That's pretty good for us over here. And so we appreciate that. Still, again, more like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends if you like what you're seeing. We're gonna go over hard lens media here, talking about the left must have abandoned Bernie Sanders. So this is going to be a left wing media source, hard lens media. I forget his name offhand. He might say it, but how I say the dim shady guy, Kyle Kalinske, he's kind of centrist. So he's a center right guy. This is a guy that's going to be all the way on the left.
All right. An interesting article caught my attention, as well as corporate media giving their own hypothesis and perspective about the left and what we need to do going forward, and how we can proceed, and how we can progress, and how we can achieve great things. But the unfortunate truth is that we have a curse, we have a problem. Senator Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders. And the left needs to move on.org away from him. So the left needs to move beyond Bernie Sanders. So let's talk about this. This is actually from Current Affairs by one Lily Sanchez. And this did come out in February of 2025. But I think it's very relevant now, especially with the next two videos that I will be playing. So Senator Bernie Sanders is consistently rated as one of the most popular politicians in the United States. Not among me. Ask a left center person who was radicalized and left.
And it really sucks that he stays independent and doesn't take this popularity to the Green Party. Like, the Green Party has his platform. I don't understand why you wouldn't be in the Green Party, Bernie. If you're in my audience and you watch this video, go to BernieSanders.com and tell him that you think he should be in the Green Party. I mean, if you think that. I guess if you don't think that, don't do it. But all the people that he's getting together, we could beat the Democrats easily with his momentum or whatever, his movement.
Last 2 decades or so, and how they came into their politics. Many will identify a few inspirations: the Iraq War, the 2008 recession, the false promises of one Barack Obama, Occupy Wall Street, and Black Lives Matter. Many will also identify one specific person, Bernie Sanders, the senator from the great state of Vermont. I supported Sanders' campaign in 2016. I got involved in the 2020 campaign as a volunteer canvasser and was then further radicalized through political education. From 2016 onwards, a series of events led me directly to where I am now, professionally and politically. It's no exaggeration to say that I'm writing these words right now in no small part due to Bernie. And I have to say again, Hard Lens Media got its inspiration from Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders inspired us, myself and Daniel, to create Hard Lens Media. We wanted to create a independent, progressive voice here in the city of Chicago. But 8 years in the trenches, 8 years of standing tall, 8 years of standing defiant. And I got to tell you, folks, eventually, you do get burnt out by the constant failure, the constant weakness that is Bernie Sanders. And many of us have been angry. Many of us have been furious about Bernie. And this whole article goes into detail about Bernie Sanders' record, especially when he talked about, his good friend Joe Biden, when he started bending over backwards to endorse and support Joe Biden in 2020. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. His heart wasn't in it like it was in 2016, and it's debatable if his heart was in it at all in 2016. How
Actually, in 2016, Bernie didn't want to run. He was trying to get Liz Warren to run in 2016, and then she didn't want to run against Hillary Clinton. So Bernie felt like he wanted to get that message out, healthcare and the left wing stuff, and up in the minimum wage, all that. So Bernie just kind of ran just as a message candidate. He didn't think he was going to win. He didn't think he was going to get momentum like that. And then it was like months into it until he believed that he could actually win. And when he really started trying to campaign like for real as to win.
However,
However,
in the early stages before the 2024 election cycle, when Biden made it clear that he was going to run again, who came out the front door running? Well, that was none other than Bernie Sanders to support him.
Sad.
And of course, I think many of us were just disappointed. We wanted something more from Bernie. We wanted him to fight. We wanted him to be more aggressive. We wanted him to, stand in solidarity with us.
Go green.
But he didn't. He wasn't aggressive, and we have to start thinking about moving on away from Bernie.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to pull up this part of the article right here, and I'm glad I was able to get to this point here.
But by moving away from Bernie, we need to move away from the Democratic Party. If you're in the left and you got galvanized because Bernie Sanders, Bernie should never went to the Democrats, and they told us they don't want us. So if you're on the left and you're still a Democrat, look at the Green Party. Look at the Green Party platform. Go to greenparty.com or whatever your city or state is. Look at that city, that state, Green Party. What is it? Arkansas Green Party, Minnesota Green Party, whatever. Look up whatever your state is and see what their platform is, and see if you feel like you're on the left. See if they are more aligned with you than the Democratic Party is.
Especially with Bernie Sanders' tour. As important as Sanders' tour is, and he is doing a tour right now, and as good as it is to see people drawn to a leader who explicitly rejects the GOP's divisive rhetoric, I fear these rallies are just more of what we already know, which is that Bernie...
Watch this before eating cheese.
It is crazy. She wrote that about a different tour, like in a different time. She didn't write that about this tour, but Bernie Sanders keeps kind of doing the same thing over and over, and it's not working. Like, it's working for the moment, right? He gets this movement going, but the end result isn't working.
Bernie can gather a crowd. If we're concerned about a larger, longer-lasting leftist movement, we're missing something here. What we have to understand is that Bernie's consistency is both part of his appeal. It draws people to him, and his Achilles heel. He's been fighting for the same issues for decades, and that's good. But he seems unwilling to break with his past strategy of playing just nicely enough with the Democratic establishment to not get totally ostracized from their ranks. His my good friend Joe Biden approach has not resulted in affirmative policy wins for the left.
Right.
As leftists like podcaster Sabrina Savetti and those from the worker strike back and independent worker movement started by former Seattle council member and
Sabrina Savati, that's the Savvy Sabs that I share sometimes.
Marxist Shama Sawant and the Hampton
Shama.
Institute, a leftist working class think tank, have pointed out Sanders' rallies could be seen as simply redirecting organic working class rage back into the Democrat Party, a party that enabled the right to gain power in the first place. This is why we need a different approach entirely, and I don't think it's going to come from Bernie Sanders. I want to pull up another part because I know Nick from RBN.
I don't think it's going to come from Bernie either, but if enough people write him and tell him to go to the Green Party, he might. Talks about Nick from RBN. RBN is another left-wing network, Revolutionary Blackout Network. So look up RBN, Hardlands Media.
Redirecting organic working class rage back into the Democrat Party, a party that enabled the right to gain power in the first place. This is why we need a different approach entirely, and I don't think it's going to come from Bernie Sanders. I want to pull up another part because I know Nick from RBN, from Revolutionary Blackout Network, is also brought up. Because if we're looking at people like Bernie Sanders and all the times that we have asked him to fight back, he was nowhere to be seen, especially for Forced to Vote, March for Medicare for All. And sadly, this hurt me as well when we asked him for the 3-day General Strike Summit meeting that was hosted by RBN way back in 2021. So if we're looking to build a better future, we have to start moving beyond Bernie Sanders. So I want to pull up this article or this video here. Shout out to Case Study TV, where the Democrats are just struggling to find an identity for themselves, which they don't have.
Jeffries and Schumer are acting paralyzed because they have two different constituencies. They have ones who are worried about a left-wing Tea Party, and they should be worried about that, because I do think this anger inside the base is real.
A left-wing Tea Party. Jeez. Too bad it was destroyed. Too bad all those progressives and independents were kicked out or canceled or censored or suppressed.
Yeah, and then you have others who are...
But the left-wing Tea Party or the left-wing movement was way bigger than the Tea Party. The Tea Party was small. It was like a few people getting into government, maybe more than a few, but getting into government and like taking over the Republican Party. we had such a huge movement. We would have taken over the Democratic Party. We would have taken over America. It's crazy that the Democrats didn't want that. They don't want to go green. I mean, it upsets me quite a bit that Bernie Sanders is still doing this and not doing it for the Green Party or DSA or PSL or even making a Bernie Party. I don't care if you want to make the Sanders Party or whatever it is. But why do you keep getting all these young people and regular people, normal people all riled up to do something, get a movement going, and do nothing with it? Give it to the people you know are going to break it. It's crazy.
We're like, hey, I won and Trump carried my state.
Yep.
So I've got to do this. So I think that's why Jeffries and Schumer come across as paralyzed, because they're trying to placate a coalition party that doesn't know which direction to go to. They should be having a loud argument the way Bill Clinton and Jesse Jackson did in 1989 and 1990.
I mean, Bernie showed them which way to go. All those people would vote for them if they went to a higher minimum wage, universal health care, free state college, free state, pre-K, all that stuff, like free lunch programs, stuff like that, like the stuff that people need. Yes, you pay higher taxes, but then you don't pay for other things. You pay lower prices everywhere else.
After a thrashing in 1988, where Republicans won. And the problem is the Democrats right now are afraid of having a public debate because they don't want to help out Trump. But I do think it's stifling their ability to figure out what to do next.
Can I just say, I think
I think they are helping out Trump by what they're doing, dancing and acting all silly, not talking about what the people want to hear about.
many elected Democrats are doing this so poorly that they're missing that there's actually not a ton of tension between people who live in those swing states and the base of the Democratic Party.
No. See, here's the thing. The Democrats are arrogant enough to think that so long as they keep on promoting Trump derangement syndrome, so long as they keep on promoting the aspect of, oh, Trump is bad, everyone's going to fall in line and listen to us. Oh, no. That's been played out. Look, I am very concerned about the policies of Donald Trump. I am very concerned of what he will be implementing. I am concerned about some of the policies that he'll be pushing forward. I'm concerned about the future of free speech, the economy, and yes, I am ever hopeful that he can get a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine because I don't want World War III to happen. But nonetheless, what worries me, what weighs with me all the time, is that the Democrats still think that they have influence over people that have more or less given them the middle finger. I mean, the bullying tactic just isn't going to work.
Right. I mean, if Democrats don't...
I kind of disagree on that the bullying tactic just doesn't work. I think it does kind of work because a lot of people are like, you got to stay with the Democrats. You can't go green. And they get mad that I'm talking about the Green Party and whatnot. It's because the Democrats use their bullying tactics and people just believe them. Like, we have to go blue because we don't know who or whatever.
Advance and articulate a robust economic populism that even stridently calls out this administration, I don't think they lose votes. I think people want to know that Democrats are feeling the economic pain that the American people are feeling, rather, that Democrats understand that pain and that they're able to give voice to it.
That's kind of funny. He said that they feel the pain that the people feel, but then he understood that they're not going to feel the pain. They just can maybe understand it. But again, that's the difference in the Green Party and the Democratic Party. We want you to run in the Green Party. We want regular, everyday people who feel regular, everyday economic pain to be, on city council, to be the mayors and the governors and the state senate and the U.S. Senate. I mean, right? Like, you guys, we understand what people need and want. So that's the difference. Like, we would be able to, like, oh, the Green Party, we feel whatever's happening in your life because we'd be the people, we'd be the same type of people, right? And then we're going to change that or help things get better.
And that's actually one of the things that Bernie Sanders does pretty well.
That's exactly. And yes, Fred Edward, I know. Yeah, hard-hitting news. The Democrats are dysfunctional, and they are. But we have to really bring this on home about why we have to start breaking away from them. Why we need to start, again, educating a lot of our friends and colleagues, because there are a lot of people that are...
So like, share, subscribe, but also go to Hard Lens Media, and like he said, RBN, Revolutionary Blackout Network.
Unaware of just how poisonous the Democrats and their tactics are, just like Bernie's tour. Yeah, if this was 2016, I'd be more than happy to talk about it. If this was 2020, yeah, I'd be happy to talk about it. But now this is just a distraction. It's a way to get people's rage. And it's easy to be angry at Donald Trump with the actions of Doge, or how confrontational Donald Trump is, or either that, how he embarrassed the Democrats at that joint session meeting, or his first congressional speech before Congress. The Democrats had no plan whatsoever. You had Representative Green yelling at him, waving his cane. You had the Democrats, some of them wearing their pink suits. You had others holding up signs, or protesters screaming and then being kicked out. And then their rebuttal was absolutely abysmal.
Terrible.
And then you had AOC's word salad about why she didn't attend. That doesn't inspire confidence, but people do remember Bernie Sanders. People do remember how they felt during those election cycles of 2016 and 2020, and they would want to gravitate towards somebody like him. I want to pull this video up here, which is pretty fascinating, because in response to what we saw in that joint session where Trump was speaking before Congress.
Donald Trump last night did what he wanted to do. Number one, he got on the record that his accomplishments in the first 6 weeks were fairly extraordinary, which is true, both good and bad. And number two, he taunted the Democratic Party into making a myriad of mistakes. I think the Democratic Party is on the verge of collapse. And
This is one time I hope Bill O'Reilly's right.
liken it to 1931, when Herbert Hoover and the Republican Party basically said to the very suffering American people in the Depression, we're not helping you. You got to do it on your own. It's all about
Sounds like the Democrats and the Republicans, though, right now.
self-reliance. We're not going to give you any safety nets. That led to 5 consecutive Democratic wins.
For about FDR.
Not until Dwight Eisenhower, 20 years later.
How interesting is it, though? Because during the time when FDR was president, there was a huge reversal of fortune for the Republicans, all right? They did have influence and power, but as soon as FDR got in, things changed. Now, what we are witnessing with the Trump administration is, during that 2024 election.
So FDR, when he got in and he got to make the New Deal, he, the big story is he had to talk to all the capitalist class and stuff, talking about the left, the communists are going to take over. They're going to take all your money if you don't come to the table and let us raise taxes and whatnot. And that's when they raised taxes to like 70, 80%, and it got up to 90%, I think, at the end of the 30s or the beginning of the 40s. But yeah, now is, again, like that was the Great Depression. We're in I don't know if we're in a Great Depression, but we're in a great bad way, and we've been in a bad way for far too long. I think we're at that breaking point, be it our economy, what do you call it, global warming, whatever makes a snap for you. I think we're there, man. We need to just, the Green Party is the way that we could do it with the least amount of pain. We could do it with no pain through the Green Party. Man, imagine every school has a food forest around it, and we don't have food insecurity no more. That's just one simple thing. Imagine, like in California, we build lakes and permaculture, and there's food and water around, so we do rake the forest and stuff, but we make the forest, and we make it how we want, so there will be no forest fires. And then if there is a fire, we could just hit a button or push a thing on the lake and let it drain out, and then boom, fire gone, or at least everything's all wet now. But yeah, just 2 solutions, but we don't have to have the pain that we're having through these 2 capitalist corporate parties. We could go to a people-powered party.
Cycle. It's very, very clear that Trump was able to use the media, populism, the failures of the Biden-Harris administration to his advantage, which what led him and the Republican Party in turn to get control of the White House, Senate, and the House of Representatives. The Democrats could have reversed these fortunes if they actually followed through with their policies and not be into by excuses or failures of leadership or a Senate parliamentarian. By the way, where is that fantastic parliamentarian at?
See, like if the Democrats would have passed a higher minimum wage, if they would have passed universal health care, codified Roe versus Wade. There's a lot of stuff they could have done that they didn't do. Ended some wars, like fix the border.
I remember that parliamentarian having so much power, and now, whoopsie, they're gone. By the way, the parliamentarian, the Senate parliamentarian, just in case you guys forgot, is a non-elected official. Take a wild guess who their boss is. The President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States. It's not the other way around where the Senate
bosses.
parliamentarian tells the President and VP, you can't do that. BS. The last time a Senate parliamentarian told that to a president, they were fired.
Did the Republicans recover? I see the same scenario for the Democrats. So I wrote a message of the day on BillO'Reilly.com, which I know you read every morning, first thing.
Every morning, first.
It said, hey, didn't the far left, the Elizabeth Warrens, used to be against war, Vietnam, they're against Iraq, Afghanistan, they didn't want to whack Soleimani. Biden didn't even want to get...
I always think it's funny when right-wingers say stuff like that, because you're just saying that if the left is against war, then you're the reason that we go to war.
Wasn't that their posture? But now, all of a sudden, they want to go in Ukraine and go and go and go and go.
The left, I don't think most people want to go and fight in Ukraine. The Green Party stance is non-violence, but anti-war and non-violence. But it's the center right, the Democrats that want to go to war, and the Republicans.
What happened? What happened was Trump hatred, and that's
TDS.
what the headline is of the speech last night. When you are hating someone, you lose all perspective. You lose all feeling. You're consumed. And I wrote a book that's going to be out in September called...
It's funny because when you're like on the left, or maybe even a libertarian on the far right, you see TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, from both sides, right? On the Democrat side, they hate Trump so much, and he's, everything he does is bad. But then on the Republican side, some people just love him so much where, like, they call him daddy. Like, why would you call a grown man daddy if you're a man? That doesn't make, unless you're Eric Trump or whatever his other sons' names are, Barron Trump and the other guy, Don Jr., oh yeah, his name after him. But that's crazy that people are calling him daddy, but then people act, oh, he's ordained by God and all this and stuff, and that's deranged too.
Confronting evil.
No one wants to talk about that, Billo. Okay, there we go. Confronting evil. Woogie boogie 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 boogie. Woogie boogie 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 boogie. Evil's everywhere. Don't you see the evil is everywhere? Evil is everywhere, and we are all doomed if we're stuck in this mindset of, especially for Bernie Sanders and the Democrats. But I do want to address something else here, and it's a little bit more from this article, especially when we're looking at, well, how AOC or Bernie and everything else that happened, how they failed in maintaining their influence. Here's a little bit more from this article.
But AOC changed, man. The party changed. They're going from boycotting or having to sit in Nancy Pelosi's office the first or second day she's in office, or AOC was in office, she was boycotting Nancy Pelosi's office the first or second day that AOC was in office, and then she goes to calling her mama bear on the View and whatnot.
Truth is, the U.S. left is in disarray. There's a huge leadership vacuum in electoral politics, as David Sirota put it. It's good to see a crowd for Bernie saying oligarchy is bad. It's what Democrats should be doing. It's not good that he still seems to be the only one who could generate a crowd for that
The Green Party, it's what the Green Party's doing. There's a home for us, guys.
message. No other Democrat can do what he has done, and he's able to still do it even now. There has been little success investment building a larger movement to succeed him. Even the popular, debatable, elected officials like AOC have demonstrated time and again that they are willing to defer to party establishment and that they will turn adversarial only when the GOP is in power. With AOC, for instance, the weeping photo ops at deportation facilities stopped as soon as Biden got into office in 2021, though the policy of family separation at the border did not. AOC, are you going to be doing another photo op at those deportation facilities? And Bernie and AOC are part of a larger progressive movement that has often lacked teeth and has refused to be adversarial on behalf of a working class agenda. progressives have not fought hard enough for the things they have campaigned on. As I mentioned before, Jordan Blog explained how progressives did not fight hard enough during the early pandemic years for the things that their own leader Biden campaigned on and which were popular with the public. Brianna Joy Gray has written about the importance of the left having principles and trying to leverage its power in small numbers, such as was forced to vote on Medicare for all to gain concessions out of the party. A strategy was later vindicated by a small group of right-wing Freedom Caucus legislators who forced out their House Speaker. By contrast, Rhode Island's State Senator Sam Bell wrote about how Democrats did not put up a fight when the Biden administration slashed Medicare and food assistance in 2023. And of course, there's
and that was AOC. She was right there. Jimmy Dore was calling her out. She was talking about Jimmy Dore was harassing her for calling her out for not trying to force the vote for Medicare. That's the whole thing that the squad was supposed to be there for. You get at least enough people to, if the Democrats have an advantage, right? They got 51 votes in the Senate or 55 votes in the Senate, but you need enough people to make it under 50 to where you could vote for the other side if they don't do what you ask them to do, like force a vote on Medicare. Then we'll make Nancy Pelosi Speaker of the House, then we can do a vote on Medicare, and then we can see who's voting for Medicare and who's not. The people that aren't voting for, then you get to vote, right? As a people, you get to vote the people who aren't voting for Medicare out, or you get to vote the people that are voting for Medicare out, and the other side in, whatever. But at least now you get to know who's doing what. But if they say, if you vote in people that are running on Medicare, Medicaid, whatever, running on a higher minimum wage, but then they never push the vote for it, you don't know if they're really trying to, well, you obviously know they're really not trying to do it. But then when they have a perfect opportunity like that, you see that they're not trying to do it.
There's all this talk about what's going to happen to Medicare, Medicaid, Social
So basically, I'm saying the squad was pointless, right? They didn't do their job. That's why we just need to get the whole new party in. And the same thing could happen with the Green Party, right? The Green Party would normally, I mean, I guess if we started out, say, with 5 senators and there was, say, 47 Democrats, and then, what's that, 50, say 52, then 48 Republicans, right? We could talk to both sides and keep it below, not make it not pass on either side, right? And get certain things in any bill that we want. Make sure that there's going to be a higher minimum wage in the bill. Make sure that there's going to be something about Medicare in the bill. Codify Medicare for all. Things like that. But it starts somewhere. And even if we start small, we start small. If we actually get like this movement like Bernie Sanders going, and we like go in and just come in like kapow or whatever, I don't know, like big time, then hey, great. But if not, still, if all we need is 3 or 4 senators probably, and we could really make a shift.
Security, and now the Democrats are wanting to fight back. Now they're wanting to push back. But when you by a small group of right-wing Freedom Caucus legislators who forced out their House Speaker. By contrast, Rhode Island's State Senator Sam Bell wrote about how Democrats did not put up a fight when the Biden administration slashed Medicare and food assistance in 2023. And of course, there's all this talk about what's going to happen to Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and now the Democrats are wanting to fight back. Now they're wanting to push back. But when you were critical of people like AOC, when all of us were critical of AOC,
are you tired of stuff falling between your arms?
Oh, shoot.
Or Bernie Sanders, there was always that shield wall from corporate media and the establishment to defend them. Now that Trump is in office, notice how they're roaring. Notice how they're fighting, especially people like Bernie.
Sounds a lot like me.
It is good to see everybody out there with their marching shoes on, while it is wonderful to see people finally yell and scream. Where were you during the 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration? Where were these glorified parades? I mean, protests. Because all I'm seeing now is people protesting against Trump. You know, there was a few protests that took place over the weekend here in Chicago.
That's fine.
But you know the old saying, those enough who were lame enough to show up, showed up. They were abysmal small numbers. And if Bernie's the only one that could pull out large crowds, and he's saying we must be against oligarchy, we must be against corruption, we must be against Trump, the rest of the party doesn't have a leg to stand on. They're weak. They're holding on to their crutches, literally, and not having a single plan. Nancy Pelosi and Chucky Boy Schumer are not going to be giving up leadership. You have Democrat leaders that are clearly out of touch and assume that voters would be good little robots. I want to read this last final paragraph right here. If you listen to Bernie's videos online, you'll notice that he uses a lot of class warfare rhetoric and does a great job of explaining the issues in ways ordinary people can understand. He's doing great work, but even though he is officially an independent, this is ultimately for the benefit of the Democrats. What he's doing is simply an exercise in helping the Democrats with their messaging and branding. He's identifying problems but not offering solutions beyond more of the same electoralism. Not once does he say stop supporting Democrats who fail to fight back against oligarchy or to primary them with progressives. A better approach would be for progressives and leftists to do what the CPC has refused to do, impose an explicit litmus test onto all congressional representatives and candidates. The criteria for support should include pledges not to take corporate money. No one in the Democratic Party is going to follow that.
Everyone in the Green Party follows that.
Approach to politics. No one in the Democratic Party is going to do
Fighting
that.
approach to
And on
politics.
policy and minimum platform, Medicare for all. We asked them for force to vote. The Democrats aren't going to do it. A Green New Deal. No, they're not going to do it. A $25 minimum wage. You have U.S. senators who gave it a thumbs down in 2021. Universal free college. Yeah, they don't want to do that. Passing the PRO Act. They don't want to do it. Ending shipments to Israel. Not going to do it.
And the Green Party is for, I'm pretty sure, all of that. I'm not exactly sure what the PRO Act is right offhand, but other than that, I'm pretty sure the Green Party is for all of that.
If these criteria are not met, the candidate should not be supported either for election or re-election. The goal should be to run and support primary challengers from the left within the Democrat Party. No, it's not going to happen. Or independents and third-party challengers, especially in a jungle open primary. Draw out the contrast between actual left-wing agenda and milquetoast Democrat agenda, and use every campaign as an opportunity to talk about the issues. Democrats can't do that. As much as we may want it to, they can't do it. They can't do it. They don't have the strength. And when you have also larger podcasts and people...
I don't think it's that they don't have strength. They don't want to do it. They're a corporate party. They want corporate money. They want the corporate power. They want all that business. That's what they want.
On social media with the influence to dictate terms, the Democrat Party is not going to change its way.
Right. They're not going to change their way. It's their way. It's not that they can't do it. It's just their way.
I want to put up this other part right here. As much as I appreciate Bernie's impact on my political evolution and the politics of so many, we shouldn't have any particular loyalty to a politician beyond their willingness to fight for a leftist agenda and to do so effectively. Politicians aren't our friends. They work for us. It's time to get to work building a movement beyond Bernie. And that's something from Nick from RBN has said all the time. If we are going to be pushing forward, we have to leave Bernie Sanders behind.
And we have to do it ourselves. It's got to be the people. Like I always keep preaching, the corporations, they're gonna do it, right? They got money to pump into people, and they get people to do what they want. But if society, if the community wants to have, if we want what we need and what we want, if we want universal health care, we got to get in there. We got to be the ones to do it.
Sanders is that problem. He's that ball and chain. And as much as I might respect his work, as much as I might respect the things that he has done in the past, that's the thing. It's in the past. It's over. It's done. And Bernie went to bat for his good friend Joe. Bernie decided to fight for his good friend Joe.
Man, Bernie could have such a legacy if he took his movement to the Green Party.
Bernie is the one who chose not to stand up for us. Yeah, I remember the feeling of the crowds. I remember, him holding these massive rallies. But that's the thing. Back in the old days, those are the old days. Today is now. In order to build a future, a better future, we have to move on away from Bernie.
If you fool me once, it's because I didn't think a guard was needed. If you fool me twice, it's because I didn't learn the lesson, so it bears repeating. If you try the same play 3 times running, it's because you know what's coming, and you didn't come to lead, you came to purposefully be misleading. Democracy is dry, it's been a century bleeding. The husk is gaping open to the sky, out in the field where all the sheep just keep on circling and worrying and bleeding. They're waiting for the shepherd that they've tried to hide their faith in, but he's so appealing. They'd gladly give their fleece, it's such a freeing feeling that even when he leads them to the ledge and starts to urge them on, they're positively beaming. They were told that they were on their way to save democracy, so even as they plummet, they just gloat, they don't consider screaming. And halfway up the cliff, the shepherd's cozy little mittens wrap around the staff of shattered human hopes on which he's leaning. He shows the gentle grin that used to stir your inner spark, and he says, "Not me, us," as he gestures to the oligarchs. He knows that if he runs, they're gonna stop him like a stolen car. And he'll easily surrender because it bought a lot of time for laying mines in all the grassroots. Suddenly, the tiniest of movements gets you blown apart. Suddenly, you're in a play that's set on an election day and voting for the fire, unaware you're playing Joan of Arc. Suddenly, the shepherd pulls the rug and slips a hood across your clueless mug, and everything goes zero dark. I'm gonna warn you once more before it's 2024 and you fuck around and find out who your heroes are. To take a step back from the herd, and you'll learn that you can spot who all the shearers are. If you really want to know the product that they're selling, I can take you where the mirrors are. If you think your voice is finally ready, I can tell you where the lyrics are. I hid them in a box I had to bury neath the cobble when they carpet bombed the promenade and raided all the street bazaars. Now all we've got's the marketplace, and you're too broke to even bother asking what the options for your treatment are. Suddenly, the raw debris of homeless human dignity will find it has 100 teeth for every badge and sweeper's arm. Suddenly, they speak in solidarity and each is armed. Suddenly, the sheep can see the shepherd for his truest form and all pitch in at once to help him buy the farm. And now it's zero dark, and all is calm and peaceful save the distant wail of sirens that approach beside the flames of dawn. Suddenly, the carrot's just a string that's on a stick, and all your movements make you sick because the prize is gone. Now, we could go and flee into the forest low and meek, or we could exercise our right to feast and go and graze on Biden's lawn. Because he's been sowing seeds that seep a toxin out to sap a bit from each of us and keep on leaching decades after Biden's gone. So regardless who they summon out of hell to come and do the job, it will not feel like Biden's gone. But in that time of hopelessness, you cannot trust the shepherd when he once again comes asking you to humor him his siren song. And it's cute that you can innocently, honestly assume that's just a symptom of a system that was wired wrong, and not the standard feature, basic function, primary objective of a mass hypnosis firebomb. You don't need to know the words to cry along. Someday it'll hit you like an officer who pistol whipped their ride along. Broke his jaw and kept his job and kept it moving right along. That voting isn't red or blue or black or white or right or wrong. Voting's like a firing squad where you can choose the firearm. It's slow extinction by and large. It's Super Tuesday supercharged. It's all your futures, roots and all, just tossed out on a garbage barge. It's everybody dropping out to push the biggest oligarch. It's everybody voting fire, registered as Joan of Arc.